I don't think police have actually done enough around like actually protecting queer and trans folks, um, particularly. I'm a firm believer that I understand why LGBT folks in a whole, and particularly like trans women of color, Black trans women, are participating in sex work because there's not enough accountability in these systems to hold folks accountable, right? Or not a lot of protection in the systems to hold folks accountable. And so for me, um, my organizing surrounded around the murder of a Black trans woman in Detroit. Her name was Shelly Hilliard. She was picked up by police and actually used as an informant to get information on a drug dealer. The police ratted her out to the drug dealer, and he actually killed her very brutally. And that for me was like my moment that like she had no choice. She had the choice of going to jail or working with the police, and police are supposed to protect folks, and they went out of their way not to protect her. And I'm very clear as the reason why they didn't protect her is because she was Black and she's trans, right? And so that's where my organizing and my political home is actually like in the life of Shelly Hilliard. And the officer that actually ratted her out was fired from the police um, from the department that he was working for, and actually was moved to Warren, Michigan. So he still has a job. He still gets to go home to his family, and there's no accountability, right? And so for me, until he's fired, right? Until police actually make a stance on sex work and saying that we're not going to prosecute it anymore because we understand this is how people live, right? And until I'm more so it's police, but I think this whole like law and order idea that we have as Americans is just really skewed, and it puts people in danger. So, for instance, like there are laws stating that you could fire someone for being LGBT and you can fire someone for being trans, right? And so when we push folks out into these margins, and the only way that they have to live is by activity that we deem illegal, right? But it's only deemed illegal for certain people. I'm a firm believer that anyone who has sex with someone and they're given anything in return is a sex worker, right? So like I think of like housewives who like, hey, I'm a housewife. I stay at home. I want a new refrigerator. The only way that I know how to get a new refrigerator is to go have sex with my partner, right? And so, like, just really expanding those conversations and like looking at like who gets to benefit from some of these systems and who don't. Like, I'm a firm believer that like police are law and order is around like protecting property and protecting white people, and that's what police do, right? And so for me, I just think it's counteractive and dangerous to give folks who have the power and ability to lock people up for things that they um, um, deem as like inappropriate behavior without actually being held accountable, right? And so for me, I just one, it's not safe because a lot of our folks have like been in jail, been arrested, been harassed by officers, um, and when I look at Pride and who police there are, and police are like, oh, we're here to protect you, and I don't I've been in too many situations where police were supposed to be there to protect us, but also have caused harm. And so for me, I think it's one thing to like to say you understand the issues of LGBT folks, but if you're not actually politicized, like folks make dangerous decisions all the time. So for me, as someone who works with Black trans women, right, I understand that like regardless to like how much I feel like I want to call the police and how much need there is, that for some of my community members and even for myself, that that's not the safe way. I've called police before as a Black trans woman to get help, and they were actually not helpful at all. They were actually more harmful. And so for me, I think until there's like real accountability and real systems put in place to actually protect LGBT folks, particularly Black and Brown sex workers, that they shouldn't be allowed. The same with a politician. Like, I don't understand for the life of me how someone can agree to have a politician come into a space and talk about like systems and like being being the change, right? Without actually like any type of accountability. And I just think it's interesting because like throughout the whole entire presidential debates, I don't feel like that folks actually really spoke to the issues that affect me as a queer, black trans woman that actually like moved anything for me. And I just think it's inappropriate. I think it's inappropriate because Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera were at a bar where police officers came in and told people that they couldn't be gay and like congregate, right? And so like I think inviting police to Pride is like is showing that like the work that Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera did was actually in vain, to be honest, and it's disrespectful.